Okay.
Selling. That happens when you face. That happens when you get a certain age. That's okay. I still love you.
All right. I think we're finally there. Oh
Okay.
my God. It's been a journey, but we made it. It's been a journey. It's been a journey, but we've made it. So I'm going to give people just a few minutes to get on. I'm excited about tonight. We have some very special guests. So you guys go ahead and tag your friends, get your besties in, let people in the room. We're finally live. We've been trying to get live for, oh my God, I'm embarrassed to say almost an hour now, but we're here. We're here. And I'm super excited. This is your girl, Jo Bullock. Some of you guys know me. Some of you guys may not. I am a life transformation and marriage prep coach. And I am sitting in for my girl, Trell Ravenel, who is my sister in Christ and my sister in real life. And so I have two special guests, and we're going to give it just about another minute or so. I may even grab my phone, tag a couple of you, and make sure we get as many people in the room as we can. And we're going to go from there, because I know some of you guys probably have been waiting and anticipating. You probably have gotten lost in the abyss of Facebook. So with all that, I want to give people just a moment to come back in the room. And also, you guys, let me know if you can hear me. Type down below that you can hear me. Okay. Actually, my tagging. Hey, Courtney, my tagging situation is not working. Okay. That is okay. It's okay. I see some of you guys are coming on. Awesome. You guys invite your friends, tag, share, and invite. Tag, share, and invite. You have to invite people into the group and tell them to join the group in order to be on this broadcast. This is in a private community. All right, you guys. Well, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. I know you guys are still coming in the room, and I'm going to give you opportunity to continue to come in the room. Oh, I better record this conversation. Let me do that really quick. Let me go ahead and hit the record button. I'm gonna record it right here on my computer. Okay, you guys, let me go ahead and introduce you. You guys kind of already know me. Like I said, I'm Trell's sister. I'm co-founder of BE Transform Networks. Trell handles the married side. I handle more of the single side, and we just double team that way. We have a dynamic couple who I've just have been admiring the last 20 or 30 minutes that we've been on. And even before that, I had the opportunity to meet them down in Atlanta about 3 months ago, back in December, whenever time was 2-3 months ago. And so let me go ahead and do an introduction. Before I do that, you guys just tell everybody hello.
Hi, how are you? Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you so much. We're so glad to have you guys. So I'll go ahead and start with I'll start with the Mr. That's how it was listed on the website. So I'll start with the Mr. if that's okay. So Eric Hylick, he has his MBA, and he is a marriage and relationship strategist and a best-selling author. John Maxwell certified coach. Many of you guys know John Maxwell. Some of you guys may know that he was a former preacher. So he definitely comes from a biblical and spiritual base. Eric is also a speaker and trainer. He's a co-founder of Marriage Can Win. As you see, he's doing that with his wife, and I'll share a little bit more about her in just 1 second. He's an ordained minister and founder of Covenant Kingdom Builders Ministry. He also is a sought-after guest for speaking engagements, business and ministry conferences throughout the United States. He has a track record of engineer and business executive in Fortune 500 companies in the IT sector. Eric has helped families create generational wealth for his clients as a financial service advisor. Listen, rumor has it, I've been hearing lately that people do the things that people fuss about the most is sex, and then second in line is finances. So this is extremely this is extremely important topic as well. And he It is his belief that it's essential to help families to build a legacy for future generations. I love that. And he helps men, particularly, transition into various roles as young men, husbands, and fathers. And you can connect with him on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, under Marriage Can Win. And any requests for speaking engagements you can forward to marriagecannwin@gmail.com. All right, all right, all right. So let me go ahead and introduce the missus. Let me introduce the missus. So Dr. Sakeisha Hylick. I love saying that. Doctor. You gotta put some respect on that name. Just saying. Has been a leader in the healthcare arena as a registered pharmacist and has served in leadership capacity for the past 18 years. Together with her husband, she's authored a book, Marriage Can Win, and co-authored a book, Girl Get Up and Win, and newly released Wife Material. She's hosted conferences and been a guest speaker at events, radio interviews across the U.S. She's tackled with ease what is referred to as the great divide in marriage. And when they say that, they're talking about communication, they're talking about finances, they're talking about sex.
Yes.
Okay, all those things we know about. Listen,
Yes.
listen. She assists couples that are in need to strategize to help rebuild trust. You guys know I've been talking about trust all week. This is so important, whether you're single, married, anywhere in between, you gotta have it. You gotta have it. How to overcome infidelity and premarital education and much more. Dr. Sakeisha has overcome the odds of both personally and professionally. Being a product of a single parent home herself has not deterred her from succeeding where her parents had previously failed. So it's no excuse. Even if you're coming from a home that's a broken home or that's been divorced, you still can succeed. I love that. And she's authored a no holds bar approach when it comes to love and marriage. So without further ado, welcome to the stage. I'm super glad to have you guys here tonight.
Thank you for having us.
So I know we kind of gave you some questions and we will stick to that pretty much, but I'm also going to just let it flow a little bit and see how, to see how everything connect. But I would be remiss if I didn't also let people know that we have something amazing that's coming up, which is the Wife and You first annual convention. So you guys, if you head over, yes. So mark this website is bit.ly/thewifeandyou, bit.ly/thewifeandyou. Is a very nominal fee. I believe tickets are like $49. You cannot beat that. Cannot beat that. So that's a really great price. It's going to be in North Carolina area, the Raleigh-Durham area. So you can sign up for that and you will get some guests, like, I don't know if they're going to be here particularly, but you're going to get a lot of guests speaking about marriage and helping support you further on your journey. So you had to do the housekeeping. So let's get right into it. Now, I've had a chance to talk with you guys a little bit. I read your bio before now, again today. Also, we've had a little bit of interaction. I think, Eric, I talked with you a little more even when we were back in Atlanta. But some people don't know your story and they don't know why you do what you do. So can you just share a little bit about why you wanted to minister and help other people with their marriages? How did that all come to play?
Well, I mean, for me personally, as we mentioned before, I came from a single parent home, and that was a history in my family. My mom's married and divorced twice, grandmother married and divorced. My grandfather, when he passed away at 94, was on his fourth marriage. So there was a history of divorce in our family. I didn't have a positive model to emulate. So when I met my husband and things started to get serious, I had to realize I didn't really know how or what it meant to be married or to have a successful marriage. So we made the decision, because the same thing happened on his side of the family with being married and divorced, that we really wanted to be the change we wanted to see in our families. We didn't want to wind up like everyone else. And after a period of time, we've been together 26 years now, we found ourselves going down the same path from our parents, being boyfriend, girlfriend, to engaged, to married, to then roommates and almost strangers and on the verge of divorce.
Right.
So when we found ourselves going down that path, it's like we had to do something different. We had to learn to put pride aside. We had to learn to seek godly counsel and, solicit the information of those that had successful marriages to pour into us, to teach us what could we do to avoid having the same outcome as our parents? So that's kind of what spearheaded it. And then we were invited to go to one of the marriage ministry events at our church, and we started getting involved.
Right.
And next thing you know, 10 years, 12 years later, we were like, okay, God, so you want me to do what? You do realize that I don't know what I'm doing. But God gave us on-the-job training, connected us with counselors, with mentors, coaches that would pour into us and would take the time and say, hey, this is what you need to work on. So we had to wind up holding the mirror to our face and say, okay, if you want your marriage to succeed, you got to get equipped. And then you turn around and realize that everything that you're learning is to help others that you're called to serve.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. And I definitely believe that that's kind of like the whole principle of fill your cup until your cup overflows. So what you learn, you take what you need, but you also can pour some back of the overflow of what you receive.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you wanted to add anything else to that, Eric, before we go on.
Well, really quick, I mean, pretty much what she said. But yeah, we were kind of like equipped. We were called to work with families, individuals, and we were called and equipped and trained both to minister and also to coach and counsel. And of course, we were equipped with the Holy Spirit to minister. And then we were trained not only from our experiences of what not to do, but we were also trained professionally by John Maxwell, Valerie Burton, and we've done some other life coaching and marriage facilitations. We have a lot of certifications and trainings. So not just saying, oh, well, we've been married for a long time. No, we've been trained on how to deal, how to coach, how to have strategies, how to listen and hear, and apply some strategies and some tools and tips. But then also from our personal experiences, we've been equipped. So you put it all together and we are that dynamic duo.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing. I love that. Okay. I want to ask so many follow-on questions, but I'm going to stick to the script a little bit, but then I'm going to make I'm going to have to circle back because
go ahead.
Just as much as I'm the facilitator and I do, I'm a coach in my own right. However, I believe that it's something powerful and it's something you got to know when you got to be a student, especially you guys have 26 years in. Me, we're going in 8 years in October, and people tell us, and it has been true so far, that we're kind of still in that honeymoon phase. I guess everybody, that scale is different for everyone, but we do get that feedback sometimes. And we've been fortunate that we haven't had anything super major that we had to confront, which leads me to the next question. And let me give you a heads up. I may step out the frame just to grab my phone, just so I can tag a couple people. If you see me step away, that's what I'm doing. But I'm gonna ask this question and I'm gonna come right back. But how can marriages prepare for the unexpected that can and will occur in marriage? Because we know that the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and he's seeking after the marriage covenant. And so is there anything, like I think about couples like myself who may be that 5 years in, 8 years in, or maybe longer, and you just don't know? Because I'm also hearing when people get into that 50 age, a lot of times they say that people are going through a life crisis.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you've been married 20 years, but then you're like, well. How can we be prepared for the storm if and when it comes?
I mean, one of the strategies that we use for our clients would be what we call the 5 Ps. And we'll go through those steps real quick. One of the first steps is just plan. When you think about it, I'm a pharmacist and I had to get a license, or even if you have to get a driver's license,
right?
There are tests that you have to go through. There's information and knowledge that you need to help you in those unexpected situations. So when you start to do that, you have to plan, meaning premarital counseling is really, really important. But even after you do the premarital counseling, still connecting with someone and do those regular checkups, because like you said, the unexpected happens. We can't plan for everything, but we can help to develop a solid foundation for which our marriages are stand on.
Right, exactly. And then the next step is we have to pray.
Yeah.
We have to be equipped with the Holy Spirit. We have to include Holy Spirit. He is going to be your foundation. You have to have something to stand on. When that word is what you can stand on and apply to your life. You have to have something that you pull your standards, your morals from, and then, this is what we use to stand on.
I know for us, the third P would be to partner. I always encourage like the women to partner with other women and the husbands to partner with other godly men to help keep you on track, to help you in terms of those unexpected situations. You want someone that, in addition to planning, someone that can pray with you, but someone that can partner with you, that's going to help keep you on track, to help you from getting to that point where you're 50 years old and you decide, okay, I'm 25 years in and I want to throw in the towel.
Right.
You really need someone that's going to partner with you and say, look, I know it's getting intense. You've been hit. Sometimes seems like things are happening left and right, and you get frustrated and you wind up taking it out on your spouse. And it's like, that's not necessarily your spouse's fault. Life happens, but you need someone to partner with that's going to keep you on track.
Then the fourth one is you have to persevere. Persevere means every time something comes up, there's a challenge. You can't just say, forget this, I'm done with this, I'm going for the next one.
Yeah.
You have to push through. It has to be worthwhile making it work, make it win. So you have to persevere and persevere through.
Yeah. And then the fifth P is going to be prioritize, and just making sure that your marriage is at the forefront. Of course, you keep God first, but be mindful that your spouse should not be on the bottom of your to-do list. Because as women, we wear so many hats. There's so many things we're doing. We're taking care of the kids, we're flowing in business and corporate America, volunteering at church, doing everything, but then winding up your husband's the last on your to-do list. So you got to make sure he's a priority. So when these unexpected things happen, you guys have that solid bond. So you can say, look, honey, I'm feeling some kind of way about this. I'm experiencing that. And you guys can actually, talk about it. If not, you shouldn't be carrying that burden by yourself. You need to be able to talk to one another. So it's just those 5 Ps.
One more thing, besides the 5 Ps, really, unexpectedly, you just don't know what's going to happen, because life brings so many different challenges from so many different angles and so many different ways. And you really, you just have to have some, like she said, foundation. You got to have some tools or strategies really to focus on the main things like communication and your finance. And then, of course, your intimacy, because those are like the 3 biggest issues. And if you got a foundation on how to overcome those great divisions or the divide, then you have something to work with. Because if you don't have anything to work with, when you're hit unexpectedly by something, you don't know what to do. You don't at least have something. Well, what do I do? So really, when it's unexpectedly, you don't know.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. And I just, even hearing about that intimacy, I think about usually the times when my husband's talking, except when we're just sharing like, oh, I went on a trip, let me tell you about it type of situation. But anything that there's the talk, right? I'm like, yeah, babe, I need to talk to you. It's usually, it's definitely within those arenas. And just be transparent. Me and my husband was talking today, like, yeah, we gotta take a look at that budget. We gotta see what's going on. We gotta see what's going on with those dollars and cents, right?
Yeah. I know that's right.
It's definitely important. And I love what you say. It's like, you don't know. And for me, I don't know, people just say that, like it's inevitable. I don't know if I believe it's inevitable. Maybe I live with rose-colored glasses on. But I don't know. I know you're saying you laid out the plan in terms of plan out and have prayer and, make sure you guys are partnering, persevering, and prioritizing. But I don't believe that we should walk around or be concerned about when the storm is coming. I feel like that'll create more anxiety and maybe even a self-fulfilling prophecy if we just kind of expect things to be crazy or to be, you know, for something to happen. I think we should just embrace the moment and just be still in God in these times. And like you're saying, just master this plan and just know that all things are working together for the good for those who love God and those who call in accordance to his purpose, and just keep moving.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I can just add 2 cents on that one.
Please.
I know for us, for planning, especially when it comes to the family and wife. So when I say plan, we got to say plan. Okay, here's where we are currently. We're just getting married. So when we're planning, we're talking about, okay, do we want to get a home? Okay, yeah, we want to get a home. So what size home? Where do we want to live? Do we want to have kids? Okay, yes, we want to have kids. How many want to have? 2, 3. Okay, fine. They're going to go to college. Okay, we got to save for their, you know, finances for college. We want to go on vacation. We want to retire. In case of an emergency happens unexpectedly, what do we have? Do we have life insurance? Do we have monies we can live off if one of us lose our jobs? So that's when we kind of come from planning. You know, it's just those life challenges that you just can't really, you know, of course we believe in God, but life happens.
Yeah. I think I'm glad you add that point, because sometimes when we plan, you know, people don't really know what that means, but when you unpacked it like that, that makes sense. And I think about just as a whole, you know, depending on what areas you're in, we know that, especially let's just say the Black community, we are known to be consumers, we're known to be spenders. And sometimes we have to take a step back and say, okay, although it's plentiful today, and we may have enough and even more than enough today, how can we taper back to make sure that we have something? Because we don't know. I mean, we've seen what the government shuts down every other year. Last year was the worst. I think it was last year when it shut down for like a month and people didn't get paid. And some people were like, didn't understand why people didn't have money for food. It's like, how you make 6 figures and you don't got money for food? You know, so
it's great that you mentioned that, because you know, the word says, you know, we perish without a lack of knowledge and wisdom. And of course, we didn't know about some of these investment opportunities, because everybody thinks stock market. Well, all those people who got 401ks and stock market now is going down. But we didn't know that there's a way, something called universal index universal life insurance. This is something that you can accumulate funds, and you don't have to worry about it. So when the stock market is down, you still have it, you don't lose any money. You don't have to worry about losing money. And it just accumulates over time. And then when it's time, say if you want to retire at 65, just to give you a quick example, your money is going to accumulate over time. And at 65, you can start pulling that money out tax-free. So like when the government shuts down or when the stock market crashes, you don't have to worry about it, because your money stays there. It's in a life insurance. So it's guarded against lawsuits. It's guarded against the financial market, you know, and then if something happens to you, your family's taken care of. But if, you know, I could go on for more details, but that's just something that not a lot of people know about. And it's just something that, you know, lack of wisdom. If you had that wisdom, you're like, wow, you know, you get more of an understanding of money and finances and how to be prepared.
And that's part of that on-the-job training that we found out when the unexpected happened. We're like, oh, okay.
Absolutely. You know, that's essential. And I believe life insurance of various types definitely needs to be part of people's toolbox and part of that P of planning, you know, of that financial planning. So good stuff. And for everybody that's watching, we're going to get to the finances even more later, but know that should be part of your plan. Cutting back on spending all that mighty dollar and going with like the 80-20 rule, right? Not spending any more than 80% at max of your income at max. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, which is, what would you tell that couple that is currently in an unusual place in their marriage where they are literally on the brink of separation or divorce, and it's really a threat in their marriage, and they're just kind of like, I'm just trying to, you know, see if I'm going to get the divorce papers tomorrow or next week, or file, you know, maybe even file, thinking like, you know, I just can't take it anymore. This is not what I thought it would be. Maybe in a disappointing marriage, maybe even in the destructive marriage. What would you say to somebody? And maybe you got two different things. I don't go for it. What would you say to somebody that comes to you with that, or are saying that right now?
I'd say, like, if they're in a disappointing marriage, understand that my first word of advice is never make a permanent decision in a temporary situation, because there's some things that the two of you can really work through. But one of the first things you got to do is communicate some more, because a lot of times we have issues that we just sweep under the rug. We don't deal with them. We're like, oh, you know, and then guess what? That pile becomes, from being like a little molehill, it becomes a huge mountain because we've ignored it for so long. And then something minute happens and it triggers an explosion in the relationship, and it's hard to kind of get the marriage back on track. So communication is essential, and not only just verbal communication, making sure your nonverbal communication lines up with what you're saying. Because a lot of times we have those conversations, your spouse comes to you, like he would ask me, well, you okay, honey? Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, my mouth said I'm fine. So he's like, okay, I'm fine. You said you're fine. You walked out the door, but I'm still mad because I'm like, no, you didn't notice. I was really upset. You didn't notice this and that. He's like, look, I'm not a mind reader. I don't anticipate all the things like you do. You said you're fine. So, okay, you're fine. And that happens in relationships. We're not taking the time to communicate what we need. We're not expressing what we expect from our spouse. We're just expecting them to know, you know.
But I mean, that's good. If we can plan ahead and educate ahead, we can avoid that. But even we have an emergency, kit 911 on our website. It says, help me stop my divorce, and also help me save my marriage. It gives you a lot of different reasons and tips. But here's what you got to do. You're getting ready to file divorce. This is what I do. Time out. Take a time out. Freeze. Don't do anything. Let's weigh the pros and cons. Let's weigh the cost of what this divorce is going to do. Let's look at who is going to affect. If the children involved, you know, you're involved, the economics of it, you know, then here's a life partner that you're about to split from, and it may be over something very minute, something that you didn't communicate about, and all it needs is you to sit down and start on the even playing field and find out, okay, how did we get here? And before we got here, what got us to even come together? What the day when you said, I love you, and you said, I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life. What happened from that point to get to here?
Yeah.
And typically it's something small, and they didn't communicate, and they just let it build up, build up, build up, build up. It's like a snowball. It starts very small, and as it keeps rolling, it builds up, builds up, builds up, and it's so huge, you feel like, I can't take it no more, I'm done. So that's why you take a time out and let's figure out, well, what's the problem? Yeah. You know, first find out the source, because even if it comes to an irreconcilable differences, you both need to know what was the issue that caused this relationship to fail, so you don't repeat it in case you go your separate ways and start a new relationship. Because you don't want to be, well, this is my third marriage and I'm doing the same thing again. You go into that cycle and you don't know what is it that caused the first one. Yeah. You want to break it, because you can save a beautiful marriage just by just sitting down and trying to figure out, well, what's the problem, taking the time out.
That's so good. And that's so true. Because what I see is, like you're saying, you get out that one relationship and you just go to the next. And the truth be told, the same thing is going to happen if you don't address the issue, because a lot of times the issue is not the issue. There's usually an issue behind the issue. There's usually some type of emotional healing, some type of spiritual healing and restoration that needs to take place. There's usually some type of incident, occurrence, exposure, or prior experience that you've had that's triggering you in that moment, or triggering your spouse. And oftentimes I know couples tend to want to run to couples counseling or marriage counseling. And sometimes it may be a personal issue. And I know as when me and my husband got together and some of my insecurities started to try to rear its little head every now and again in situations, I had to learn to stop and say, you know, hold on, self. Is this the issue with Kelvin or is this the issue with self? And so sometimes you all need to take that same assessment. Is it really an issue with your spouse or is it an issue with yourself? Because sometimes I see people blaming their spouse for not making them happy or not being happy and saying, I'm gonna be happier without you. As long as that person is not impeding your freedom, you could be happy with your spouse. It's just the choices that you're choosing to make. So it may not be nothing about your spouse. It may just be, what is it, causation versus correlation. It may just be something that is happening at the same time, you being in marriage and you may be unhappy, but your level of unhappiness, it shouldn't be contingent upon your spouse, unless they're like abusive or something in a case like that. It shouldn't be that they're making you unhappy. That's likely a personal issue that you may need to see in individual counseling and support in that area or other coaching, depending, because counseling, and I like to sometimes make the distinction, counseling deals with a lot with your past. So if you're heavily immersed in dealing with things from the past, that's where the counseling comes in. Coaching, say, okay, we may take an overview and we may dip in the past, but we ain't gonna stay there. We're gonna dip and get out.
Yeah. We're gonna keep moving forward.
Right? Keep moving. So we're gonna take you from where you are to where you want to be.
Absolutely.
So that's how that works. So a couple more questions for you before we let you go, and I'm enjoying this conversation. But what would you say, what can wives do in 2020 to create a deeper bond and connection with their husbands, especially those husbands that are standoffish or have an opposite personality than themselves?
Oh God.
What do I know about that?
Oh my goodness. You know,
Hold hands on.
oh my God. But honestly, one of the things that we've learned and we've had to implement is being intentional in our marriage. Meaning I had to learn his love language, because that was one of the greatest things that was driving a wedge between us. I thought I was the bomb.com wife because the house was clean, his homework done, all of that. But that, for me, that was acts of service. That was my own love language. But for him, it was physical touch. And I wasn't touching him enough. So he's over there like, you're doing all of this good stuff, but that's doing nothing for me. You know, I had to learn. He's like, I need you to hold me. I need you to touch me. I want you to want me. And that was hard because you've got so many things. You got social media, you got Instagram, Snapchat, all of these things vying for your spouse's attention. And here he is or she is saying, hey, I just want you to touch me. Give me that attention. And so I don't have to look elsewhere for that. And in 2020, we got to be more intentional when it comes to our relationships. Think about it. When we want a promotion on our job, we're going to connect with somebody who's either been in that position or has information that can help us get there. Right. You know, we're going to do the research. We're going to Google is your best friend. You're going to connect with somebody, find someone that has an experience to help take you to the next level. But we got to do the same thing with our marriages. You got to be intentional. What can I do to help, you know, foster that deeper relationship with you? So be intentional, be informed about his love language. That's my second point. And third, just demonstrate initiative, because so many times in relationships, we allow things like pride to keep us from building that relationship. Oh, I got this. I can do this by myself. I don't need it. Look, you're married to him. You know, if something, you can tell when there's something going on with your spouse. You can tell when there's a shift in their demeanor or something's happening. Take the initiative. Honey, what's going on? I noticed a change in this when you come home. Is there something I can do? Is there something we need to work on? Is there something, you know, we need to talk about? And give them the opportunity to respond. A lot of times I know I got this. You know, you just going in like you know everything. And it's like, okay, you may actually have no clue as to what's going on. I had no idea my husband was you know, having a challenge at work. So when he would come home, he was acting differently. And I'm thinking he's just being ungrateful. I washed the dishes. I did all my acts of service. I'm doing my own love language. And he's like, no, you're not helping me. You're not touching me. You're not giving me the attention. You're not paying attention. So I just had to learn to, demonstrate initiative, find out what's going on instead of just assuming I knew everything.
That's good. That's good. And I love what you're saying, even in the midst of that, which is saying, know your spouse's love language.
Yeah.
And be more intentional about showing love the way they receive it, not the way that you do.
Yep.
And I know we are so guilty of that. And now, like, trying to think, do I know my husband's love language all the time? I know his is quality time.
Okay.
I don't know if that's mine. I know one of mine is definitely active service, but you guys, that's definitely, a critical thing, because you can be like you saying, you could be doing everything under the sun and it's not doing anything for you, for your spouse.
Yep.
So, okay. So I'm coming for you, Eric. Don't worry. Don't worry. What can husbands do in 2020 to create a deeper bond and connection with their spouse,
Well,
with their wife?
number one, really get in touch with themselves, knowing where they are in maturity. Get out of the stage of from being a boy to becoming a man, and then from the manhood to husbandhood, and then from husbandhood to fatherhood. Really,
Eric, I couldn't hear anything you just said. I don't know what happened. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
I'm sure.
I'm sorry. You probably was going in. They might have heard you. I don't know if they heard you. I definitely did not. Can you repeat that for me?
Sure. So basically, I was saying, really get in touch with themselves. Know themselves. Know who they are, and seek to mature. Mature from boyhood to father to manhood, manhood to husbandhood, and husbandhood to fatherhood, because you really can't bring a boyish mentality to a woman and a wife when you're still stuck in a boyhood stage. You have to educate yourself. You got to grow up. You got to mature. But really take out the the pride, and really start talking to your wife. Open it up to her so she can open up to you. Share some of your deepest thoughts and feelings. Be vulnerable.
Yes.
Be vulnerable. And so that way she can come in to you. And that's how you get that oneness, when you know each other and you feel safe. You have a safe place when it comes to your wife and to your marriage. It's safe. And when you feel safe, you're open to respond and open to share things with each other. And then once you get that point, then everything, that intimacy is there, because if you first get close and safe with the minds, the physical will come.
That's so important. And in guys,
Yeah.
you gotta be connected with the mind and emotions to get the physical. Like, make no mistake.
Yeah.
Right. So there's some motivation there. There's some motivation, and not to be sexist, because sometimes women maybe have a higher sex drive. That's what I'm talking about. Than men. It just depends. It just varies. I think, but there's a reputation that men tend to be the ones driving the.
And when you get in the 40s, sometimes things shift.
Yes.
Oh God.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. A lovely thing.
Things to look forward to, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's too funny. That's too funny. So great stuff. I did have one follow-on question for you before we get to the last one. You said they got to put away, Eric, you said they got to put away that boyish type of mentality.
Right.
Give me a couple examples of when you say that. What if somebody's watching this and they be like, well, what does it mean to have a boyish mentality? What does that look like? And I may think of some things too and ask, well, is it this like a boyish mentality that you're talking about?
Well, let's think about it. So before you got married and before you started really dating, you were just all about selfishness, and you do things that you wanted to do. You only thought about yourself. And as boys, you're just out there to have fun. You're not thinking about anybody. You don't care about anything. You just want to have fun. So now when you're talking about approaching a woman, women, they want somebody serious. They want somebody who's has some kind of character, some type of integrity, morals and standards. Now a man has morals. A man has standards. They have what do you call it? Manners. So right. So they know how to treat a woman. So when I say treat a woman, we're not talking anything sexual, just respect. This is a woman that you want to date and spend the rest of your life with. You have to know how to treat her. You have to know how to be kind with her, open the door, take her out to dinner. That's what a man does. They protect their women. They make their women feel safe. Boys, all they want to do is get, they're thinking about sex. They're thinking about themselves. They don't care about the woman. If it's raining and stuff, they're like, you got to get that on your own or whatever, instead of, oh, let me get you an umbrella. You actually care about them.
I love that. That's good. That's good. That's some great demonstration, I think, for both sides. For men to help identify maybe any of that boyish behavior that they may possess, and maybe even seeing that they have overcame or growing out of, and even as women, for us to help to identify, because there are some single women in dating also need to be able to identify that.
One more thing, if I can add. As a boy, we're thinking, because we're still living with our parents, right? As a man, I have to be able to stand up on my own, be able to pay my own bills. I be able to pay my own transportation if I have a car. I have to be able to afford a home. And then before I even can take care of a wife or start dating, I have to be able to take care of myself. I should not be still being taken care of by my mother and my father. I have to be able to stand on my own 2 feet before I even look to have become a husband. Because if I still got a boyish mentality and I'm trying to say I do, I can't even take care of her. I can't take care of myself.
Right. That's good. That's very tall. That's a tall tale sign. Yeah. Thank you for that. That's good. That's good. Okay. So great conversation. Let me just say this. Do you have any final words you want to share? Last tips? If you do, just go ahead and do that. And also, once you do that, make sure you also share how people can stay in touch with you, or you can just go straight into that.
Wow. I mean, for me, I would just encourage wives just to continue. We say, like, for us, our mission is to help educate, empower, and encourage. Continue getting educated on the topic of marriage. It's a continuous learning process. No one knows every single thing about marriage. So just connect with other women that can pour into you and help encourage you. Attend conferences, and we tell you to read books, but just be mindful that no marriage is perfect. No person is perfect. And that we have to learn to be able, one thing that we talked about as far as being communicate, but 2, commit to guarding your marriage against negative external influences, which is, a lot of times we talk about these things because this is where we got our on-the-job training, learning from, you know how they say you leave your parents and you cleave to your spouse, learning that you're no longer, you're always going to be your daddy's little girl, but then, hey, I'm his wife now. So I have to learn how to separate the two, if that makes sense. Yeah. So not everybody is qualified to speak into your life. If I'm having an issue in my marriage, I love my parents, but if you've been married, divorced 2 or 3 times, twice, you've been married 3 times, you've been married 4 times, you're not qualified to speak into my life. So just guard your ears and your eyes against what you're allowing to impact the way you respond to your spouse or the way you interact with them. And so that's the main thing. Just communicate and just commit to guarding your marriage. And then 2, just constantly walk in forgiveness. We never tell anybody, we're not encouraging you to be anybody's doormat, but forgiveness is a process. A lot of times we see marriages dissolving because they have unforgiveness in their heart. Things that they say, oh, I've forgiven you for, and no, it comes up over and over and over again. And you never really give the marriage an opportunity to heal. So just be mindful of those three things. Just communicate, just commit to guarding your marriage, and just constantly learn to walk in forgiveness.
Now, if I may, I want to talk about the different generations. I want to hit upon them because the new generation, which are either 18 to 25, 26, and sub-30s, really know what it means to have a relationship, know what it means to have a covenant, know what it means to have someone that you can depend on for the rest of your life, someone that you know, in case of an emergency, you can call that person and depend on them, that know that they will have your back no matter what. You know, that younger generation, they're like convenience. You know, they're just like, oh, I just want some sex and that's it. You know, he, her, whatever, try this, try it. But no, in order for you to survive in this generation, you need some kind of foundation of a relationship, marriage, and family. Because if you don't, there won't be any families in the future. It'll just be a bunch of people out there still in their boyhood and girlhood states, just doing whatever they want to do. And then they say, I don't even want to make a covenant because we can get each other's benefits because of these new laws. We can live together and you can act like you my wife and get all the benefits and everything, but we have no covenant. You don't have nothing that says that I can depend on you for the rest of my life, and you don't have a covenant before God. And then that next generation, you know, that next generation is what they saw their mother and father, and they probably came through, you know, the civil rights movement. So all they saw was their mom and daddy they paid the bills and stuff. They didn't see any relationship. They didn't see any intimacy. They didn't see any how to, you know, show affection and stuff. For them, need to learn, get educated on what it means to have a successful relationship, have some kind of foundation, learn each other, how to please each other. If you spend all your time trying to please your spouse and her the same way, then there won't be anybody left out. And then education, just like she said, like if you want to go to a job, you want to find out the job description and go and read up and get some skills. Well, if you want to have a successful marriage, a relationship, and a family, you want to learn how to be successful and look at your legacy. And legacy is not just having millions of dollars in a business and pass it out. No, you want to show your kids how to be a man and a woman. You want to show your daughters and your sons how to be a woman, a mother. So that's the legacy. When they see you, you're passing down wisdom. You're passing an example down to them, which they in turn, they're going to grow up. They got some morals. They got some standards. They know how to treat each other. They know how to be the rock in the family. So in case of these emergencies come, a man knows how to take care of the family, and a woman knows how to run the family and make sure that, you know, as the woman, how to operate the household and operate in her gifts and his gifts. So, you know, that's for that middle generation. And for the upper generation, same thing, except now you know, that generation where they know, well, we're just together because, you know, I'm never going to leave my wife. And you may be sleeping in different beds, or you're together, but you hate each other. You're just together for the kids. You know, that's that upper generation. That generation, you just gotta, it's hard to come out of that mindset, but you gotta break it. You want to enjoy the rest of your life with the person you spent all your life with. So learn how to have some fun and some joy with that person. So that's a learning process. You're never too old to learn anything until you pass away. But as long as you're alive, you can still learn and have fun in all your relationships. And no matter what generation, you want to have fun with someone, and you want to have trust and feel safe with them. So I just want to hit all three generations there.
That was so on point. And I'm that millennial 26 to 37 generation. And I agree. Like, I remember I saw my parents in like a roommate sometimes, like more like roommate type of things. They just work, pay the bills, keep roof over your head, food on table. We out here.
Never been on a vacation. Don't know what it means to have family vacation, family fun, go out bowling, you know, to go somewhere and have fun. You know, Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, great. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I would be remiss if I didn't give you opportunity to share. And I know I shared it earlier, but if you can share again how people can stay in touch with you. Also, if you have any upcoming events or anything that you want to share, go ahead and share that at this time.
That'd be great. Well, first of all, we're on social media everywhere. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and we're on Instagram. And right now, we have a radio show that we air every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock on the Love Radio Network. And you can go to loveradionetwork.com. Also, we have a 24/7 podcast, which is at Marriage Can Win, marriagecanwinpodcast.com. Or you can just Google us and you can find, we're on multiple platforms, Google, Apple, Anchor, we're all over the place. We have a lot of teachings. Now, in the future, we're going to have a portal out called Marriage Win Academy.
Yeah.
And that's where everything, you can come to one spot and get registered with us. And we're going to give you more information on that, but look out for marriagewinacademy.com.
Okay.
On all forms of social media, everything is Marriage Can Win. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
And our website is marriagescanwin.com.
But upcoming events, we're doing a book launch called Struggling to Keep the Vows. So that's our next project that everyone can kind of look out for. And then we have a, oh my gosh.
Marriage retreat where we're going to actually do a book launch. And then there's going to be some other bigger projects that launches from there as well. Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. A lot of great things you guys are doing out in the world. Thanks so much for sharing. Thanks so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. And we love working with you guys.
You guys are amazing.
Thank you. All right. Well, you guys stay right there. Let me make one public service announcement before I close this out tonight. Okay. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are holding the Wife and You convention that's happening on, I want to say it's May 31st, the last Saturday in May.
Okay.
And so you don't want to miss it. We'll be in the Raleigh-Durham area, and you guys can grab your tickets at bit.ly/thewifeandyou. And what I would say is just don't come for yourself. Bring a girlfriend with you. I think so often, and I've been so guilty because I'm so tunnel vision. I just be doing my own thing, catching my whole life. And I look up and all my friends all the way back there, I'd be like, yo, come on, and I'm not realizing I done went to every conference, every event, everything, and left them in the dust and talking about where they at. They ain't here. So make sure you bring a friend along with you, regardless if they're in a good marriage or disappointing, destructive, or whatever they may be. We definitely have to constantly be nurturing our marriages, just like a plant. If you have a plant, I don't care how beautiful that plant is, if it's a real live plant, if you don't water it, it indeed will die. So you have to continue to water and nurture your marriage and make sure the soil and everything is good and all of that. So again, you guys, thanks so much for joining tonight. Thank you guys for bearing with the technical difficulties. Everybody that's watching the replay, you guys make sure you comment below and let us know that you were here, #replay. And until next time, be blessed, you guys. Thanks so much. And thanks to Trell for hosting all of us on tonight. We appreciate you, darling. Love you and good night.
Good night.
Good night.